CBN News.
U.S. lawmakers are taking action that will help persecuted Christians. The House of Representatives overwhelmingly passed a measure creating a special envoy for religious minorities in South Central Asia and the Middle East. It would help develop policy options to ensure the protection of minority faith communities, as well as serve as a high-level advocate with U.S. and foreign governments. The measure still has to pass the Senate.
Nina Shea is director of the Center for Religious Freedom at the Hudson Institute. She joins us now from Washington, D.C. Nina, in Egypt, Syria, Pakistan, across the Middle East and parts of Asia, Christians are the targets. How can a special envoy for religious minorities help them?
An envoy position within the State Department means that policy will focus on one person. There'll be one person working day and night on the issue. It won't fall through the cracks like we saw what happened with the Egypt burnings and attacks on Coptic churches in August.
Now this idea
of the administration really failed to address that. Sorry
to interrupt, but this idea of a special envoy is modeled after the special envoy for Sudan that was initiated back in 2001. Did it make a difference appointing this envoy for Sudan?
The envoy made a huge difference. He was able to develop negotiations, bring both sides to the table, and then develop a comprehensive peace agreement, and then eventually a referendum, which ended up in ending the conflict and allowing South Sudan to become an independent country so that there's religious freedom there now in South Sudan.
Now, this has passed the House, but it still has to pass the Senate. Will it pass? And if not, who is standing in the way?
Well, in the past, this bill has been introduced by Congressman Frank Wolf in the House, passed overwhelmingly each time. But it's been blocked in the Senate by the Democrats, by the Senate Democrats in the end. And this is because the administration does not want to create another post, they say. They say there's already ample bureaucracy to deal with it. But in fact, the bureaucracy doesn't. We do need another person who has this as their sole portfolio. It's a very critical time for these vulnerable minorities.
And to that point, Nina, in Egypt and Syria, as I mentioned, attacks on Christians are growing worse. Is it now open season on Christians?
It is open season on Christians. Islamists have risen up and blown up Christians in their churches as they worship on Sunday morning, as we saw with the Protestant church in Pakistan last weekend. Scores of Coptic Orthodox and Protestant Catholic churches in Egypt were blown up or destroyed by angry mobs, scapegoating the Copts in August. Syria, I heard that a quarter of the population of Christians now, 500,000 people, have been displaced from their homes. And many of them are targeted for their faith.
Why are journalists missing this catastrophe, especially those in the so-called mainstream media?
I think they have a blind spot, as many of our national media do as well. Have had a very poor record in getting the story straight and really connecting the dots, seeing the pattern. It's not just happening here or there. It's really happening across the Muslim world, particularly in the Middle East and in South Central Asia. And it's because there is a rising fanatical strain within Islam in those places.
You talked about this earlier in the interview. You fear that there could come a day where the Middle East is totally emptied of Christians. That's your big fear, right?
I do fear that, because we're seeing only 4 countries with significant Christian populations in the last 10 years, and that is Egypt, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. And 3 of those countries now are really, the Christians are terribly persecuted. And only Lebanon has not seen that, and there's only about 1 million Christians left there. So this is the cradle, the birthplace of Christianity. It's going to be a huge loss for the church. It's going to be a huge loss for the region, and it's going to be a national security problem for us, because this region will have no experience of living with Christians.
Okay, Nina Shea, someone who has been the voice for the voiceless for many, many years. Nina, thank you so much. Nina Shea with the Hudson Institute. As always, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.